Okay, I show that it's 11:01. Let's go ahead and get started, and I'll get some of the preliminaries taken care of, and then turn it over to Julie and Dave. I'm Stacy Levon with the Greater Des Moines Partnership, and I'd like to welcome you to the webinar today, Tips for Using Salesforce During COVID-19 to Increase Productivity and Boost Engagement. Thanks for joining us today. We ask that everyone put your phones and computers on mute for the duration of the call. Please open your Zoom chat function and type any questions you may have. We will be using chat to take questions throughout the webinar, so Julie and Dave will kind of watch that and hopefully be able to answer the questions as we go along. We will also take questions at the end. The call is being recorded and will be available on the partnership's website at dsmpartnership.com. We expect that should be online next week. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce our presenters today. Julie Brandt and Dave Small are with Dextra CRM Solutions, which is a software consulting firm that helps organizations leverage Salesforce and related technologies. They are going to share their expertise and advice on using Salesforce during the pandemic and best practices that you can use now and well into the future. For those of you who do not know me, I am part of the partnership's economic development team, and we've been using Salesforce for about 9 years. And have found it to be a great tool and resource to manage our customers, leads, projects, communications. However, we know that we only touch the surface of its capabilities. And so we are always looking for ways to enhance the use of the program and assumed other people were in that same situation. So Julie, Dave, and the entire Dextra team, they've been with us on this entire journey and have provided tremendous support, training, advice, and willingness to answer all of my dumb questions along the way. So thank you, Julie and Dave, for joining us and sharing some valuable insights this morning. And I will turn it over to you to take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stacy. We are glad to be here. It's good to see everybody this morning. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up some slides. I think. Here we go. Everybody seeing a nice big Dextra logo there? Fantastic. All right. Well, as mentioned, this is part of the Greater Des Moines Partnership webinar series. Today we're going to be talking about some tips during this crisis on how to increase productivity, continue to boost engagement. I'm Dave Small, also joined by Julie Brandt. This is my big smiling picture over here on the right. I think that is taken the last time the sun was out, like 9 months ago, is what it feels like. I live here in Ankeny. Been with Dextra for about 8 months now, and previous to my career with Dextra, I was with a company called Two Rivers Insurance, based in Burlington, but I worked here in the Des Moines office, and have been part of the Ankeny Chamber of Commerce and also the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. Julie?
Julie Brandt, and I can tell you the exact date the picture was taken, Dave, because I got a call that my teenager got in his first car accident. He's okay. But I can give you the date with State Farm if you really want to know when those were taken.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, true story, but everyone's okay. I have been with Dextra, it'll be 12 years in August, and I'm on the sales side, and then I also do primarily, and then I also do end user training, which is kind of my niche as well. And I've been working with Greater Des Moines Partnership, like Stacy said, actually, Stacy, I think since I started, Pam Bull. So probably 12 years or so. So anyway,
we were on a different system and then we switched over to Salesforce, right?
SalesLogix, you're right. Yep, it was SalesLogix, and I'm super excited to be here and glad you guys can join us on the start of a holiday weekend. So thank you.
Okay, great. So just a quick agenda here. We're going to give you a brief introduction to Dextra, who we are, what we do, how to pronounce our name, and why it's spelled that way. Some tips for increasing the engagement and productivity. That's really the meat and potatoes that Julie's going to cover. And then I'm going to give you some Salesforce resources and tools that are available. You'll have access to them after this webinar. And then I wanted to leave some time at the end for some Q&A. And if there's questions along the way, feel free to just type them in the chat and we'll address them as we can. So Dextra, do extra. Why is it spelled that way? Our CEO back in the day tried to get a website for Dextra.com, and it was DEXTRA and it was not available. And so the next best thing was to put an O in front of it. So it's pronounced Dextra, but what we always say is if you pronounce it Do Extra, it doesn't really matter. You can call us whatever you want as long as you call us. So that's what this t-shirt represents here, and we're actually having a t-shirt contest internally. So this might be one of the winners right here. What do we do? Well, we are a Salesforce implementation partner and consulting partner. We've partnered with Salesforce for over 12 years now. Prior to that, as it was mentioned, was that we were a Sales Logics partner. So we have a lot of experience with CRM systems in general. Average tenure of our team is over 9 years. Julie, I know, how long have you been here?
It'll be almost 12.
Okay. So I'm pulling that average down a little bit with my 8 months, but we've done over 750 successful projects across the nation. Really, we have kind of some main hubs in Des Moines, Kansas City, and Washington, D.C. I make Des Moines the biggest picture on here, you know, because that's the best city. So, and that's really where we were located. We had an office down on Court Avenue for a while, but have since moved to a remote business model. And I got to say, the timing couldn't have been more perfect with everything that's happened in the last couple months. It's really been a benefit for us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Julie to kind of dig into some of the content here.
Great. Okay. So what I want to talk about, I've got just a few slides. Of course, I want to tell you everything I know and everything I've experienced with all types of customers, but we probably don't have time for that. So I'm just going to kind of highlight things that I see from a sales perspective, but probably more that I see when I work with folks to do their implementation. To do their end user training, which is part of the implementation. So one thing I just want to kind of point out, Salesforce is your asset. There's no magic wand. You're paying a lot if you already are a Salesforce user and have licenses. It's not cheap, but it's well worth what you're paying. And the main part is really to get your folks in and get meaningful results out of it. So I kind of joke about the magic wand, but background to that is it's not a difficult tool to use. What we're really in the business of is helping our customers really change behavior, moving to a new system. So it's really, if you can approach it with baby steps, you'll get where you need to be, but try and not kind of consume all of it at once because it's a lot. So a few areas I wanted to go over and then give you my thoughts as far as idea or solution to these areas. One is collaboration, kind of making sure everyone feels informed and connected. And that can go a lot of ways. That can go that they're informed about what are happening at your different customers, your prospects. It can be informed about what's going on at the company. With the pandemic right now, it would be a nice way to update folks in the system using Chatter. And Chatter is a collaboration tool within Salesforce that's free. It's all part of your licensing. And you can do groups and kind of go as far as you want to go with it or as little as you want. But it's a great way to keep people informed. Next one I want to talk about is really looking at reports. I know that's a big one. You're going to invest in Salesforce as much as possible. You really want to keep your reporting in the system. And so an idea, during this time when you might have a little bit of downtime or you might want to do some assessments, one area is I would kind of look at your reports and see, are they being used? What does the inventory look like? I know I worked with a customer years ago, and to give you an example, they had like a dynamic report, which means it's updates as information is put in. But then the sales team, each salesperson was taking that and creating a new one for each week. So 52 weeks in the year, it's a lot of reports when really all they needed was to kind of jump off the one that was already there and use that. So just kind of take inventory and see what's being used, what's not, and where you might need improvements. Another area that sometimes people overlook it, but from my role as a salesperson, I use it day in and day out. So really making sure or checking with your appropriate resource at your company. Email integration for the most part is out of the box, not a cost to it. And they have a Gmail and an Outlook plugin. And I use it all day long as far as, if Stacy or Kim sends me a message and it's relating to a project or an opportunity, I can just load it right into Salesforce from Outlook. So it kind of takes care of two things. One, I'm getting information in the system that's relevant to Greater Des Moines Partnership as a whole. And it keeps, if I'm required or, we're looking at any metrics or any type of activity, it kind of solves that issue as well. I don't have to go put it in two spots. I can do it in one. Another one, really looking at is along the reporting line is how can you kind of reach out to your folks and really incent their productivity? Like, are you measuring things on KPIs? If you want to do a shout out to say, Julie, great job on getting so many leads converted, or documenting account reviews. At Dextra, we have a process, it's really slick, that I think I have 30 accounts right now, like active accounts. And so part of my job performance is to get in touch with each account, and Stacy and I did this. I have account review with them, and because of how we log it, it automatically shows up in a dashboard and says Julie has 8 out of 30 completed for the year. And it's just an ongoing dashboard that's really slick, but you got to get the input in there and have it set up correctly. I know at Salesforce, their mantra is really, if it's not in Salesforce, it didn't happen. I sometimes feel that's a little harsh, but it kind of, if you can kind of soften it up a bit, it does make sense. I know every Monday at 1:30, Dave and I are part of a weekly sales meeting that lasts 30 minutes. And we know what dashboards are being looked at and what reports. And we don't really have the excuse to say, I can't really say, oh, I did this, but it's not in there. Like we literally just operate the sales meeting right from dashboards and reports that we all know what to expect. So kind of something to think about there. I think if you could handle your sales meetings or account management meetings out of the tool, that really helps with the buy-in and getting engagement as well. The next part is looking at data issues. And, data is tricky and probably one of the trickiest parts, but is there trust in the data? Really do a, kind of analysis and check out the different folks that are touching it and just, gauge that. There are some really nice duplicate management tools. One is just out of the box, you can set up duplicate management rules, and it'll help with user input, kind of saying, wait a minute, do you mean to create another contact? We already have a Dave Small in here, and that type of thing. The next one is really looking at your current org structure. And I know we worked with Greater Des Moines Partnership probably about a year ago, and we did a migration to Lightning, which is the newer interface. And part of that was working with Stacy and her group to say, going through each object and are you still using this? Are these fields outdated? Do we have too many that are required and it's causing some issues with data input? We can help you, or you maybe have a governance committee on your own. And I really recommend going through the entire org object by object and just making sure that it still makes sense for you. Isn't always a heavy lift, but something that you want to look at. The other thing with that is technical debt. Is that something you need to look at? Is it bogging you guys down that you have outdated data, kind of like I mentioned, or just stuff that you don't need? So that's kind of there. You can go on, Dave.
Julie, can I just jump in real quick?
Please.
On the email integration for Outlook, I think that is a big thing to consider because it really goes alongside with productivity. I mean, one of the biggest drawbacks as a sales guy is having to go at the end of your Friday or whatever and enter all your calls in and enter all your emails in into Salesforce. So if you're a company that is adopting a new plan around reporting on metrics, and you're struggling getting your employees to enter all their activity and all their information just because it's a tedious task, that Outlook integration can almost eliminate that headache, because it's as simple as clicking a button, and then the email address that's linked to that account pulls up the account information right on your Outlook sidebar, and you push accept and it's in there. So it makes it really slick and simple, and can definitely increase productivity, because they're not spending as much time on entering that data in.
Yep, and along with that, and I have a screenshot a little bit later and a couple slides here that I'll be able to show you kind of what it looks like. And they can also set up like tasks, events from there. So there's a lot that they can do. A lot of people, when I do the training, in fact, I just did 4 interviews of end users last week for a new implementation, and 2 of them were like, we live and die by Outlook. Like, don't take my color-coded system in Outlook away. So then we need to translate that into, okay, because we need user buy-in when we train. The executives may be sold, but I'm still selling to the users when I'm doing training to get them what they need as well. It's kind of a fine line. The other thing with that, and I don't have it on here, but I want to mention it because it kind of relates to what Dave just said. The mobile device, they're doing just released a big revamp of Salesforce Mobile. And so, like Dave said, at the end of the week, you're like, oh my gosh, I've got all these notes and these, documentation I need to log. Right? Kind of crazy. The mobile device can help during the week, because I could literally pull up my phone, pull up Stacy's contact record, call her, and when I hang up, it says, how did the call go? And I could speak into it or text into it, and that goes right into Salesforce as well. So one thing, the other part too about this, as I mentioned, it's a huge asset, but you want to get your users in, and you also want to kind of alleviate any excuses, because again, it goes back to changing behavior. So listen to them, but take away, help get rid of those excuses. And so it's kind of a win-win. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable. The next area that I want to talk about is really kind of give you some ideas, and these aren't, it's not rocket science. It's things you guys, I'm sure, are probably doing. So it's just something, kind of a reminder for different roles, and I could go on and on, but these are just a few that I pulled out. Really, everybody at this time, I think it's really important when, oh, I just saw a message from Kurt. Is it possible to create to-do list? Yeah, I didn't see the whole message, but you can create tasks. He's asking if you can create tasks with reminders to call out to folks. And yes, you can definitely do that in Salesforce. You can also do it in Outlook and have it associate to the record in Salesforce. And that's a great thing to do, because tasks in Salesforce, a lot of the reason you use those is if Kurt, say that you're a lead that I'm trying to have a conversation with. I would hope that you're sitting there waiting for me to call you, but I'm pretty sure you're not. So by setting up a task, I can just say, call Kurt on, Wednesday, May 27th. And if I don't get to it, it's more of a task, and I can just move that task to a different day, or they can be timeless as well, which is different than how like an event would be used. So great question. I hope I answered that. I didn't see the bottom of it. I don't know if Kim or
I can read it. It says, he was giving an example. He said, is it possible to create a time-specific to-do list with a reminder? For example, reach out to customer X at the end of June when he's done with his audit.
Yep, absolutely. And I do those all day long. And just another example would be from a sales side. If I lose an opportunity, I can close that, but set a task up under that to check back like in 6 months to see how they're doing with whatever, if they went a different route or whatnot. But yes, you can definitely do that. Yep. And activity management is huge. I can't stress it enough. It's a big reason I think people buy and get engaged with Salesforce, but it's also one of the things that, I hate to say it, but that falls off pretty easily, because it's hard to change behavior. So kind of back to this list, with the first one, it's a hard time for everybody, a very difficult time right now. So just Dave and I really just believe in, being an active listener when communicating with your customers and prospects or leads, and think outside the box and, what can you do to help them, not necessarily always be selling to them, but what can you do to help educate in this downtime or this, strange time? What can you do to really help them be ready for when this is over and kind of keep improving? So we're doing a lot of that at Dextra, and really just listening and just trying to be there for folks. So I encourage everyone to do that. On the sales side, we are selling. It's a good time to go in and review your pipeline and look for, outdated opportunities or ones where you maybe don't have activities set up for follow-up, and get some of that documentation in there so you're ready to go when things return to quote normal, and just kind of get yourself, be a little more proactive, and use your data. Data is huge, and don't underestimate it, but you do need to, keep it up. From a sales account management standpoint, same type of thinking. Look over your existing accounts and look for cross upsell, and maybe, again, listen to them, and maybe part of it is education. Maybe they just need a little nudge right now, and a little positive thoughts, to kind of look into Salesforce and do a little cleanup and look for some opportunities down the road. Customer service, kind of, I'm along the same theme here, but it's a good time to look at cases that have been open for a long time and, clean them up. It could be a touch point. If I had one out there for Greater Des Moines Partnership, or maybe one that was closed and resolved, still wouldn't be a bad idea to reach out and say, hey, Stacy, Kim, how has this been going since we resolved the case? Still positive and that type of thing. Data accuracy. For end users, I'm a really big fan of the list views. I use those every day, and it helps me keep up on what's going on. So I have a list view that says my active accounts, and I can see when the last account review was done or what the last touch point was. And it just takes, like at Dextra, my boss, Dave's boss, we're the same boss, our manager, she would go to look in Salesforce. I'm not getting emails all the time like, when did you last talk to Stacy? If she wants to know or needs to know, it's out there. So it takes away. I'm not saying some things don't come up where it might be more urgent and they may check, but it's really, if you document, and it helps me out because I just have it all out there, and it helps me with future conversations with accounts and contacts. List views, again, I really feel are important for end users, and then reports. Super users can be pretty good with those and have meaningful reports, but executives really are the ones that I really gear the reports towards, and make sure that we have meaningful reports and not just doing a report to do a report. So really think about what reports you need to run your business, and make sure that you have you're only going to get the output if the input is there. So that means fields and pick list values and that type of thing. I'm kind of on the same theme here with the last one, but really I can't stress the touch points enough. Kind of, what Kurt's asking about, how can I set up that reminder? You absolutely can do it, and everyone's going to do it a little different, but the technology is there and it's pretty easy to use. You just need kind of maybe an overview on how to do it. But, look at past future activity and just make sure that they're properly and I say accurately logged, because you want to make sure that they go to the right record in Salesforce. And I trained one group years ago, oh my gosh, probably 10 years ago. And I told them how to put in contacts and stuff like that. And then sure enough, the next day, the fellow called me and he's like, Julie, I just entered all this stuff and it's not there, panicking, but it's all, it's kind of a technique to where you put things. So I just redirected him and he hadn't really lost everything he thought he had. The other part with that and touch points is back to Dave and my comment about the email integration. You can also go back through your emails and put in older emails and put them out in Salesforce. You just don't have to look at future ones or new ones. So any questions there? Is there any other questions before we go on? I've got a couple visuals to show you real quick. Any questions or any advice? I'd love if there anyone else has a way to do things better, smarter, please let us know, because we're always learning as well.
Just wanted to quick add on the active listener thing. I mean, that's a big thing during this crisis, is just being there in a different way for your customers than you normally would. If they are saying, hey, we're struggling with paying our bill. I mean, if there's any way that your company can be flexible just for a little bit, you know, providing a favor, providing that value, could lead to an opportunity down the road. So it's not always about doing an account review, and even though we are looking to upsell opportunities, it's not always about being a pushy sales guy, for lack of a better term. It's about listening to what their outside the box needs are, and if there's any way you can connect them with somebody that could help provide a value. I mean, any little thing during this time could go a long way down the road.
And I'm a little biased at Dextra, but we I just think it's all about relationships, and I have been here a long time, but our customer base is just amazing. Like I just, and I think it's just, you know, caring about people and building those relationships is huge, especially right now. So I wanted to, hopefully you can see these clear enough, but I just wanted to point out a few, and I just took these from looking for sample dashboards and reports. I would love to show you what we do in ours, but I just can't. So but these are some great dashboards and some examples. So the one on the upper left is a sales executive dashboard. And we do use some of these as well, but the kind of the key points that they're showing you that you can track is, you know, obviously the pipeline. So you can track that as far as what dollar amount is in each stage. You could also do, you know, by stage, how long the opportunities are staying there, the duration. The next one is the sales pipeline by rep. So it shows the rep and then what is in each of their stages, all nicely color coded. And then on the right, you know, you would have to be keeping this information, but it's key competitors, which we don't do, but that's just kind of just depends on your business model and what information you want to capture. Key opportunities on that same dashboard, you could define that to be, you know, is it by dollar amount? What are my top 10 deals? That type of thing. And then you've got activities by sales rep and forecast by month. So just keep in mind, dashboards are great, but it all comes from a report. So you need to have, that's why up top I have mentioned input, output. Your output is only going to be as good as your input, and you have to have the fields in order to get the output. On the right, the all opportunities, that's, and I don't know who on the call who has Salesforce or who might be looking at it, but that's what is called a Kanban view. And it's really just index cards, more or less, that you can drag, and this is just a screenshot, but you can drag and move them from stage to stage, and then it updates everything behind the scenes. And the items that they note, what I really like about this is, as a salesperson, I can go and edit on the fly and just edit, move to the next one, edit from this type of view. And then there's no task or events. If I haven't put them in yet, I might have them on my calendar, but I didn't link it or sync it appropriately. This is a reminder with those little yellow triangles to go set something up. Again, I might have it set up, but I need the system to know that I have it set up. And then the bottom left, this is what I was mentioning earlier about a list view. And I put the red box in there just so you could see over on the left, Dave, if you want to move your arrow over there. So that's just a reminder. It's a visual to say, Julie, you don't have industry in there. So I could just do a cleanup right on this list view and go in and select the value. So I use these day in, day out. Like all day long, I'm looking at my list views for different reasons. So that's more the end user perspective. And then the other, and then the one above it would be more from an executive. And you can definitely do it from the end user, but the title of that one is Sales Executive Dashboard. Any questions on that? Any questions on dashboards or reports that you guys are struggling with, or one that you really like? Okay.
I think everybody's on mute, so if there is questions, just please feel free to write them in the chat box and we will address them.
Okay, perfect. I've got one more slide, and I'm kind of picking on Stacy and Kim a little bit here, but I hope, and I think this will give you a good idea about the email integration if you're not already familiar with it. So the top one is just the invite for today. I'm sorry, the top one is an email that Stacy sent for an example. And all I need to do is click on log email, and then it would let me choose Stacy or the account or where I want the email to go. And there's just a radio button that you just push, and then that puts that email out into Salesforce. And then I'm done. I can delete it from my inbox or do whatever what my preference is and end up keeping my my Outlook. The bottom one is the bottom piece is same thing, but it's looking at an event. So it's the invitation for today's call, and same type of thing. And keep in mind, like Dave mentioned earlier, it's bringing up Kim and Stacy above because it's connecting their emails. Because I have Stacy's email connects to Salesforce and says, oh, we recognize Stacy, so we're going to bring her up and make it easier on you. The upper visual on the right, where it's got a green box and it says create, that's just to give you an idea of things you can do right from Outlook that then go into Salesforce just by clicking a button. So, Kurt, if I keep picking on you, sorry, but if you were on the call with somebody, you're on or had an email from me about my audit, and that type of thing, you could just click on that email and it would pop up over here, and you could do new task. And that's where you could put, Julie wants me to follow up with her on September 9th. And then it creates a task out there for you, or you could do a new event too. But and this can be customized to what you guys need, what each company needs. So that's all I got. Any questions or anything, just put in the chat and we can answer them at the end as well.
It looks like we have a comment. I really like the Kanban view and the dynamic list. Makes it easy to check the status of projects and clean up records.
Yep. Yeah, it's great. And you can use the Kanban view. I don't know when it was released to go into other objects, but if you're using leads, you can use it there, and other, maybe contacts, I'm not sure, but definitely leads. So thank you. Thank you for the comment. Yeah, it's a great way to look at data.
All right, great. Thanks, Julie. I wanted to get into some resources and tools that are available out there. Did somebody say free? Everybody likes free stuff, right? So most of what I'm going to talk about here is available via Salesforce for free. And I'm going to pull up some websites, but all the links in this PowerPoint are live, so you can just click on them and they'll pop up for you. So you have those available to you as well. The first thing I want to talk about is Trailhead. This is kind of the learning hub for Salesforce. This is where you go if you want to do some individual training on your own time. Everything in Trailhead is free. It's free to sign up. And what it looks like is this. You go to trailhead.salesforce.com. You click the sign up button here, and it'll ask you to put in your email address or your Salesforce account. And then once you're logged in, you'll be able to see different, they call them trails, and they're basically training journeys that they take you on. It could be talking about Sales Cloud. It could be talking about becoming an admin. It could be talking about any specific topic that you need to learn about is available in here. If it pertains to Salesforce, there is a training topic for it. And I know that they've even created some specific trails around this COVID crisis right now. And so those are available to take a look at too. They grade everything on a point system. So if you're using it for employee engagement or production, you can grade on this point system and have little back and forth competitions throughout your office people, and give out prizes if you want to do that for who can get the most points. I think I've got, I don't know, 50 trails completed or something like that. I don't get anything for it except a little badge or something, but it's pretty fun. They keep it interactive, and Trailhead Live is another tool that's out there where you can actually learn from the experts on the fly. They'll post webinars, you can participate in webinars, and so that's something to take advantage for free. Salesforce admin certification is something that is now being offered virtually. It was something that you had to go and take a in-person proctored test for, but because of the crisis, they've really focused around how can we still allow people to get certifications and get credentials with Salesforce. So they've decided to do it virtually, and now's a good time to do it because it's what they call certification days at Salesforce. So there's many trail mixes available on Trailhead that are geared toward this admin certification path, if that's something that you're interested in. And I had a list of them right here. These are all classes that they have available online that would help you prepare for your admin exam. When you get to the actual part of wanting to take a test, I think there's a fee, but because it's certification days, a lot of times they'll offer $100 off a voucher for
Dave,
yeah.
I have a comment there too. I signed up for one of these a long time ago, and be careful because I signed up for one that was like in India. And anyway, watch your time zones and languages because that did not, or was it Brazil? Might have been Brazil. It didn't work well. So find Central Time and yeah, be careful.
Another thing I wanted to bring up is right here in Des Moines, we have user groups, and one of them is the Des Moines Admin User Group, which has, I think I put a link to it here. This is where you can find it. It's available if you go onto Salesforce's website and you're in the Trailblazer community groups. You just search for Des Moines. This is one of the options that you have to choose from. You just click Join Group, and then they have several different meetings and events that are coming up virtually. A lot of times they're educational. When we're not in a crisis and we're able to meet in person, it's a good way to meet peers that are in the same boat. They're running into the same challenges, so it's a good place to share ideas.
Dave, can I add something to that too? What I was going to mention was right now, because of it being, you can't be in person. Like I sat in one yesterday for the Lincoln Omaha user group. And so I just kind of listened in while I was doing other work. So maybe take advantage of join a Boston one, or, I mean, you could join any group you wanted right now, which usually is not the case. And then the other thing, we go to them as a vendor, but like, I don't go there to sell. I learn because I'm constantly learning about Salesforce. But I will say it is a good spot, for you guys. I don't know what all your industries are, but you can meet people in similar industries, or it could be a good way to network for you personally or professionally as well. So it's about 40 to 50 people are showing up at the Des Moines one, and there's one in Eastern Iowa as well. So anyway,
great. Thank you. Yeah, so I put these links on here. It's a good time now that we're all kind of locked down and looking for ways to be productive. It's a good time to educate yourself on Salesforce and become certified if it's something you're interested in, and why not take advantage of the certification days. So this information is available to you. Salesforce has created something called Salesforce Care, and this is a collaboration of different products that they have available, different platforms that they're offering for free, and I believe it's for 90 days. Salesforce Essentials, Quip, Tableau, Social Studio, and several others. Salesforce Essentials is the basic version of Salesforce, where you can load your contacts and accounts, probably the similar format to what most people are familiar with on the call. Quip is a great tool to use for collaboration purposes. You can share documents with other people remotely. They can make updates at the same time. and then everything is live and shared in a common cloud. You can schedule events on there. I'm planning another webinar through using a Quip document. That's a joint event with some other people. Tableau is a tool that's owned by Salesforce. That's a great statistical and data management tool. They're offering a free trial on that. Social Studio is a tool that's out there to help manage your social media posts that Salesforce is making available. And there's several others that you'll be able to dig into with that link right there. And I think my window's in the way, but I had a link up here. I can't get to it because of the window. But anyway, you will have access to it on that link as well. Work.com is a new tool. This one's not free. This one's a new tool that Salesforce released to help companies navigate a clear path forward. And they offer a free playbook, which has a special section on engagement. I wanted to pull up kind of what Work.com is trying to do and show you a snapshot out of this engagement book. Just a second here. So Work.com, they're offering products and support to help you return to the workplace. And they focus on some main pillars that's available in this document. They talk about navigating economic uncertainty and the different types of economic recovery and what that would look like. And then they say, how do you navigate your path forward? Well, most companies are going to some sort of approach where they need to stabilize, reopen, and grow. And so this pamphlet really gives you an outline for success on how to continue to grow even in these tough environments. So that is available to you for free, and it's right here on these links. This is just a couple of screenshots. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to show my browser or not, so I put these in here, but all this information is available on that free document. Any more questions that have come up? I don't see any.
I would like, I'm just kind of curious for the folks on the line, and we did this at a user group meeting the other day, and I'm not even sure how to do it, but I think there's reactions. I would love to just kind of see, is this useful? Is this kind of what you were expecting, and a thumbs up, and hopefully, or not? So anyway, if you think about it and want to put that up there, that'd be awesome. I'd love to kind of know if we met your expectations.
Thanks for the thumbs up there, Kim. I see that. And I also see that we have a question here from Kurt again. Data is only as good as the input and updates. Right. It's the old garbage in, garbage out thing. So he's asking, is there a way to create a report with a last updated field?
Yes. Yes, you can. Yeah, absolutely. And you can also, there's two things you can do. One would be, like you can do a last modified report date. You could also, if there's certain fields that are important to you, you can also say, I want to track, I can't think of a field, but you can pick different fields that you want to audit, so to speak. And then you can have, you could even get notified when a field changes. But yeah, any field you can really report on pretty easily. So, yep, definitely doable.
Thank you for the question, Kurt. Anybody else out there have some questions? No? Okay. I think that's pretty much the end of our little webinar presentation. I'll hand it back over to Stacy.
Okay. Well, thank you, Julie and Dave. We really appreciate you joining us today and sharing your insight and your expertise with us. And I know that you are always available for questions if people have run into issues as they're using Salesforce. And with that, I'd also like to thank Kim Fankhauser, who is running our technical aspect on the back end. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. We hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend. And just as a reminder, we do have additional webinars coming up, so check the events page at dsmpartnership.com. And then this webinar will be available probably next week, so you can review it if there's something you missed or what to catch up on, or share it with someone on your team. So thank you all and have a great weekend.
Sounds
Bye.
great. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.